Hey guys, welcome to my fourth video tutorial. I might be wrong about that. But yeah, it's one of my video tutorials. Yeah, actually, I think it is the fourth. In this one, we're going to go over some layers. And layers are a great way to keep your project organized. I know that I've only been making like circles here and there, but you would be surprised. In fact, I think I'm going to show you. And this was the fonts from earlier. And again, you probably want to check those out because you can't go wrong having too many fonts now. Granted, they don't even take up that much space. They're easy to install. And you can use them for just about anything. It's just really nice to have that many options. But we're going to try this. I've never actually done this, but maybe this will pull up some cool stuff for us to get an idea. Okay, see there? Look at all this stuff. All I did was type in Inkscape projects. That is amazing, but it just shows you like all the different things you can do, and all those are just lines and stuff, And they end up making this beautiful picture. And granted, it took some time, it took some work, and the guy or girl obviously knew what they were doing. Just like this car. I mean, this is a 2D picture that looks like a 3D car. Like you can almost reach out and grab it. Same here. Yeah, and then here we have like the kind of stuff I do, the website logos and stuff. And that looks like a real phone almost. And it all boils down to your skill. And this actually, that is, I believe that's made on Inkscape, but that is a logo for Scribus, which is another program that I'm going to be doing tutorials on. It's for layouts. So if you want to check that out whenever it's ready, and it might not be up right away, but if there's a link under this video in the description, it means my website's up, and you might want to check that out because it's going to have all kinds of tutorials on freeware programs that will get you pretty much anywhere you want to go as far as design work. All right. Yeah, see, and I mean, there's really like it's all about your style, your imagination as far as what can be done in Inkscape. That's awesome. Um, and I couldn't do something like that. However, it was done in Inkscape, and it was less how much they knew about the program and more their style. But you can see like that might just be white color, but it almost looks like they used the control plus control minus type stuff that I showed you in a couple of videos ago or last video. And these 3D little squirrely things, I guess they're made on Inkscape.org, or they're on Inkscape.org. And I used something like that. I showed you in an example of a website banner where it's like faded out circles, and that's really cool. You see how they went really basic with it. But yeah, I mean, but what I'm trying to get at is all these projects that are done, or at least most of them, probably use layers. I was trying to find one that I could definitely tell could use layers. And I've got this beeping thing going on. Hold on a second. I don't know what it is. Okay, so, but yeah, what I'm trying to get at is that layers can be important for big projects. If you're just doing something small and simple, you might not want to use a layer. I don't use layers a lot, and there's a lot of times where I should, especially if you're dealing with a client who wants a copy of the SVG file. By the way, I believe SVG stands for Standard Vector Graphic, which is the output file for Inkscape. They're gonna want it layered because people who hire graphic artists to do work for them don't generally know a whole lot about graphic design. However, the ones that want the SVG file at least know enough to go in and tweak a little bit. So they're gonna want layers because layers are just easier to get through. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and add a couple of layers. But I'm not going to go too in depth because again, it takes me a while to actually get any good art going, and every once in a while I have like a stroke of genius and I do something that I just fall in love with. But for the most part, I'm not an artist, and so I'm not going to try to impress you with some grandiose drawing but yeah, so I'm just going to show you how to add layers and kind of manipulate things within a layer. Okay, so you automatically start out with layer 1, which I'm not entirely sure if that's the same way on Adobe Illustrator. I think you have to let Adobe Illustrator know it's a layer. Oh, also, if you're having this problem right here, as far as like a gap in the circle, and I had this, I thought my software was messed up or something. It turns out this little like thing turns it into an, it'll take away from it, also add to it if you go too far. And there's an option, I believe, in the circles thing where, see how it's on like half circle, you wanted a whole circle, so bam, and it goes back to whole, and then you can change it again if you want. See, and it just switches the option. But yeah, so you automatically start out with layer 1, and that's great because you don't have to do anything with it. Uh, but let's say, like, okay, you've got everything on here, and this circle represents, I don't know, an entire background for a picture you're doing with clouds and trees and everything, right? Well, you want to be able to edit your foreground without messing up your background. And since your foreground is going to be sitting on top of your background, it's kind of hard to do things like click and drag because, and I'll show you, this square right here is your background, and let's say the circle is your foreground. Okay, so we're going to move that back, and let's change the circle's color for, obvious reasons. Okay, well, but this circle has like, let's say it's like 30 objects that you've created in this program, right? But you decide you want to move them all to the left, but so you can, and your background's also like 30 objects, right? So you could select all, and you can go through and shift click like everything you don't want to click or whatever. Or you can do the same thing, you shift click everything you want to select on your foreground. Or you could try to drag and drop, or you can try to drag and select, but you see what it does? It just moves whatever you clicked on because there's an object behind it. Well, with layers, what happens is, and let's do this. I'm gonna leave that, and I'm gonna copy this green circle. So if you don't know where the green circle comes from in a minute, it came from my copy clipboard. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to layers. I'm gonna add a layer, and let's name this foreground. And then I'll control paste that. See, now I got my circle back, but it's on my foreground layer, right? So now if I want to select my foreground, I can click and, see what happened? Yeah. It did the same exact thing because the layers don't mean much until you want them to. So everything is in the same picture, but it's just in different layers. So let's see when I clicked on what was in layer 1, which was our beginning layer, it automatically jumped to layer 1. You can see your layers down here. See, you got your layer 1, you got your foreground, right? But let's say I want to select my foreground without selecting my background. Well, I can use this lock right here, and I'll just lock layer 1, right? So now I'll go to my foreground, which you don't even have to do that way. You can just click on the object, but let's pretend my foreground is like 300 objects or something, but I want to drag select all of them, but I don't want to mess with the background layer. Well, check it out. I just locked my first layer, so now all I have to do is click and drag. See, I can click on that. It's not doing anything because as far as the program is concerned, it's not editable at all because I locked it. It's not possible to do anything with it. Now you can just as easily unlock it. Like let's lock our foreground, keep that in one place. Okay, and then let's go back to our layer. Layer 1, let's lock it, unlock it, and then there's another option over here, and this is to toggle your visibility. So you can click on it, and boom, layer 1 just disappeared. No matter what's on layer 1, it's gone. But it's not gone; it just disappeared. And this is great because let's say you're just doing something really intense, and like you don't want to have any distraction in the back right at the moment. All you have to do is just lock it, or is just hide it. And like see, and even though it's not locked, you can't click it because you can't see it. It's not there. Yeah, so you can unhide it and everything. So those are your layers. There's a couple of things I'm trying to remember. I did something one time. I was working on an animated project, and I was using pencil, and I was making a spaceship. And every time I would move the spaceship, I'd have to transform it a little bit. And every time I did that, I don't know what that just did. So, but every time I would, and I was using layers. Oh, I see what's happened. I'm on layer 1, and I'm let's just do this. Okay, I've locked my layer 2. So let's lock layer 1 and let's go back to layer 2. But every time I would move the spaceship, I would have to transform it a little bit. In order to do that, there were so many parts of the spaceship I had it grouped, so I'd have to ungroup it. And when I did that, it would take it out of the layer it was in, and it would put it in a layer of its own. And I have no idea what that was about, and I know there's a way around it. But let me see if I can recreate this problem so that we can find a solution for it. Maybe not. But just anyways, keep in mind that you want to make sure to check your layers whenever you're doing really intensive work, just to make sure that it's your layers. Because what happened was whenever I would ungroup it and then I'd change layers, it would lose the layer that it had transferred it to, and so I wasn't able to move that object anymore. And that might have just been a glitch in my system or something. But yeah. Layers, when it comes to layers, you just want to make sure you know what layer you're on and everything, and that it'll just help you out a lot to pay attention. But yeah, I mean, so let's say one of your customers this is some awesome design that you just created and you sold it for like $1 million, and the customer comes in and he's like, well, it's just a little too long, so I'm going to edit it. I'm not going to ask him to do it. I just paid him $1 million. I'm sure he's on a yacht somewhere. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit myself. So he opens up his SVG file. Let's say he opens it in Inkscape or opens it in Illustrator. He'll be able to go into the layer. He'll just be able to lock this layer and then go to layer 1, and then he won't have to worry about messing up anything else because he'll be able to access that layer. And that's what layers are really for. It's just to keep things organized and to keep you from screwing one thing up whenever you're doing another. Yeah. Okay. I think in the next video, and I'm going to try to make it short because I know I'm long-winded. I like to talk a lot. So in the next video, I think I'm just going to show you how to cut. Now, when you're dealing with Illustrator, there's a tool for it. For exporting and stuff, and I guess you could say there's a tool for it in Inkscape, but it's a little different. And I'll show you a couple of tricks I know as far as exporting. So yeah, if you want to join me in the next video, and again, if there's a link under this video to my website, it means my website's up, and you might want to check that out because it'll give you a little more insight into things. But until then, I guess I will see you.